Hello, good evening, welcome to the VRC. And here we are with finally a look back at round 8 of the Super Touring Car Championship. I have been off my kilter and we have not been getting the streams that we deserve here at the Virtual Racers Club. So, without much further ado, I will continue. Hi, Muddy in the chat saying good evening. So what is Stcc? It's not a venereal disease. You're fine. You're not going to catch anything here. Stcc is our take on the iconic super touring era of 90s BTCC. Using selected Group 3 versions of family cars, qualifying will set the grid for both races, with the sprint being the reverse of qualifying results. So, in the format, they will race qualify for 10 minutes, which they have done. They've raced it as well because it happened ages ago, but who said that? So qualifying for 10 minutes, then it's a 35-mile race for a sprint, and then it's an 85-mile race for the feature race. They've got to use 2 compounds over the round, so, and it's easily done because there's many pit stops needed in the feature race. So then let us talk about the table. I think we missed out on the table last week due to Excel issues. So the table so far after round 7, which was the Nürburgring, we have Haase at the top on 253 points. In second, we have Matt Psycho on 249 points. Wowzers, that's close. Homesick Alien third on 212 points. Shiren is fourth on 170 points. Ensenua is fifth on 134 points, with Koikap in hot pursuit in sixth on 136 points, only 2 points betwixt them. Seventh is the Bazinator. He's on 112 points, with eighth going to Snorlax with 115 points. What? They might be swapped round because it says Snorlax is on 115 and it says Baz is on 112. I think Excel's still playing up, boys. Pat's in ninth on 88 points with Scary Rambo / Harvey / Harvmeister / Harvey Warbanger. Is 10th on 78 points. Mrs. Guesty is 11th on 76 points, with Madalinsky 12th on 62 points. Kimi Räikkönen is 13th on 38 points, with Jokers 14th on 37 points. Flashman is 15th on 24 points, and Silverstar is 16th on 19 points. That is how they stand so far in this championship. Shall we have a look at the grid? Remember, for this sprint, it is reversed, so it's a upside down grid, if you may. I'll take my glasses off because the telly looks blurry when I leave them on. I think I've covered everything. I'm a bit rusty. I haven't done this for a while, so bear with me. Let's have a look, shall we? So we've got the Harvmeister in his BMW, sat on the sprint pole, and that will put him on the back of the grid for the feature race. Second on the grid for the sprint is Koi Karp in the Rothmans Mazda. And in third, we have the Mitsubishi of Mrs. Guesty, the lone Mitsubishi, I think. I think we are no Pat. So Mrs. Guesty out there representing all by herself. In fourth place for the sprint, we have Snorlax in the Lexus, and he's looking in a beautiful spot there, right through the middle of those guys, in a very fast starting Lexus, and he'll be hoping to be leading this race in that first corner. So we'll have to wait and see. The Baz, I forgot what number we're on now. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. You don't get this with Crofty, do you? Fifth place is a Mazda of the Bazza, the Bazda, and he is he's having a cracking season. He's He's smashing it. Ensign Ewart in the Stag and waiting. He's doing good as well this season, and he's doing all right. Yeah, in another Mazda. I've stopped counting now. It's we're getting too high in numbers. Sharen, the Russian sensation, in his BMW is up next. And he is looking striking in the Beamer. I haven't looked at their tyres either. Sorry, guys. I'm slacking. In the chat, Pat saying, oi, oi, hiya. And Pat also saying, and yes, I missed this one. I decided it might be better for me. Only one Mitsubishi this time. Oh, but it's such a beautiful track, Pat. How could you resist? Road Atlanta is a testament to the Americans. It makes up for Laguna Seca. So here we go. We've got Homesick Alien now. He's in a spot some way down the grid, but he'll be fourth when it comes to the feature race. He's in a Hyundai, and he is pushing that Hyundai in all sorts of amazing ways this season. Then we've got the pug of Matt Psycho, and he's locked in a 10-round long battle with the Flying Finn back here, the Haas. And the Haasmeister smashing in the wins, but only 4 points ahead of Matt Psycho in the championship. All very tight stuff betwixt those two. And we got Madalinsky, who's at the back, but I think I do remember something at the time of him not being able to get there on time. Well, he might be on pole. We'll see come the feature race, but I think he missed qualifying. But, you know, what the hell? This is, let him have his moment. Hey, so Madalinsky, the shocker of the qualifying session, smashing it there on the pole, but he is put to the back for the sprint race. So that's all the riders and our runners and their positions. Let's waste no time. Oh, I haven't even done all the... Oh, yeah, I can do that here. Should have done that before I started. Let's keep our expectations low, guys, for this stream. I've started it haphazardly. So one more lap to go, and then we're going to be go here for 14 laps of Road Atlanta, and the Haasmeister pulls away lovely in the Beamer, but Mrs. Guesty tracking him all the way down the short straight to the first corner. This first corner is a tricky one, and they're going to be on cold tyres when they reach there, but the Halves pulls out a bit of a lead there on Mrs. Guesty as she comes in for the attack. And all right there, a little nudge to say hello. And Snorlax, I said he was going to be gunning, and he is gunning for the front. Oh, and then we see a little grass kick up there. The halves goes a little wide, and oh, there's total bedlam going on down here, ladies and gentlemen. And we see the Baz and the Matt in the wall. And let's have a little closer look at the situation here with Matt Psycho. Oh, and I just think the Baz did not know the Psycho was there, and then the Psycho getting a little love punt from his closest rival, and that turns this grid upside down. Mrs. Guesty, meanwhile, takes the lead of the race with the Russian sensation in second. Big Dan is in third. There was a lot to unpack there. Madalinsky's come from the back all the way up to fourth place with the Haasmeister. Damage at the front, damage at the back in fifth place. Then we have Koikarp. He's on racing mediums. We see the choices of the tyres they have made now. As a Homesick Alien, he's got a bit of damage as well. He got caught up in all of that. He's in seventh. He's on the racing soft tyres. We've got the Baz in eighth on the mediums. Matt Psycho on the mediums. Haza behind those guys also on the mediums. Did he get caught up in all of that, or did he just redress? He may have redressed because he gave Matt a little pump from the back, and Snorlax going very slow. We saw he was attacking, and now he is at the very back of this pack. Meanwhile, Mrs. Guesty is here. She's representing. I said she was representing, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely pelting it out there in the lead. Lap 2 of round 8 of the Stcc, being chased down by the Russian sensation in his BMW, and we have seen that BMW very skittish all season long. extremely fast, but has a mind of its own in the corners sometimes. So Shiren will be tiptoeing around these corners, chasing down the very solid Mitsubishi. We have seen Mrs. Guesty get some lovely consistency out of that Japanese marquee car. And sat on board with Shiren. Behind we've still got Big Dan ahead of Madalinsky. This battle's getting closer, but we've got Big Dan. He's got a nice bit of space from Madalinsky, but Madalinsky looks like he's coming to close it up here in Lexus. And then we have the halves. He's all fixed now, and we've got someone defending. Koikap defending from Homesick Alien, but Homesick Alien makes short work of that. Up the inside, late braked and smashed it. I think Koikap's on the medium tyre, so Homesick Alien being helped by the fact he's on a soft set of tyres. At this point, the Baz in 8th place with Matt Psycho on mediums, sitting in 9th. Sahaza also on the mediums, sitting in 10th, and Snorlax with them soft tyres is wanting to make big gains. Shiren now, oh, he took the lead. I apologise. Here we go. It only just happened into the first corner, and man alive, he had his elbows out there. There was just enough room given from Mrs. Guesty, and Shiren definitely used what room was given there. And Mrs. Guesty now following the Russian very closely. You know that Beamer can be very skittish, and as Shiren looks to see, he is avoiding the curve. I say he's avoiding the curves, he went right over that one, but I imagine he's a little wary of the curves in this race. Big Dan in 3rd, looks to be untroubled at the moment. Madalinsky was staying with him, and there is a short space between the two of them, so still Madalinsky a threat to Big Dan's podium as it goes at the moment. Homesick Alien, has he overtaken the Baz? Have we lost Koi? Koi's disappeared. Koi's dropped. It looks to me like Koi has dropped behind the Peugeots now, and Koi struggling with those medium tyres. They take a while to get into the race, and Homesick Alien slicing his way past Koi and Baz and Koi again. The halves slipping back as well. The halves is slipping back, and those medium tyres are an absolute nightmare out there. Lap 3, and Snorlax is starting to see some cars. He must be getting rather excited, because he's seen a lack of cars so far in this race, except for the first lap, and now they're all coming to him. Shirena, meanwhile, is pulling a gap out on Mrs. Guesty, and the Biggest Daneth there, 19.4 from Biggest Daneth last time around. Mrs. Guesty doing a 21.8. Oh, it's a lot faster in the Mazda, and Mrs. Guesty's just got to get her head down, get those lap times in, and just stay ahead of Big Dan. Madalinsky, meanwhile, 21s also. So Big Dan slowly creeping away from the Polish pilot, while Homesick Alien 22.8. This is what it's costing him to get through the traffic. And the Baz still very close behind, and Matt Psycho catching up with the Bazinator as we speak. These two we saw having the coming togethers from the first lap, and are now going to throw down in front of us all here at Road Atlanta, or whatever it is. Who keeps saying that? Shush. So Matt Psycho, and even you can see early doors in this race, the Peugeot struggling with the medium, well, not struggling, but it is using the medium tyres, and usually we find that they don't tear into the medium tyres all that much, but it's looking to me like Road Atlanta is tough on tyres, because the mediums already on lap 5 are starting to show slight wear, and that is the fastest lap of the race from Matt Psycho now, and Matthew setting up the Baz ready for a move. He's in the stream, but still not getting the job done. But Baz makes a small mistake into the chicane. Now the back end of the Mazda is not complying, and the Bazza is having a look at that barrier, and he might come across here to have a look at something as well. And that lets Haza through also, and the Bazza slips down 2 places. And Koikap now saying, yep, I know how that feels. The halves is under pressure from Snorlax's Lexus. Snorlax smashing out the purples, and already wanting to get by the halves, and he does rather easily. Halves must have got out of the way on that one. Doesn't want to hold him up. Shiren then building a gap. Lovely gap. I don't believe Shiren's had a win this season. And this one is looking rather good. I think we've only had Peugeots and maybe one Hyundai take the top spot this season. But so far, Chiren is looking very tidy indeed. It's 6 laps of 14 done. Mrs. Guesty still holding that second place. She's gone faster, nearly a second faster than before. And Big Dan, though, he's smashing in the 19s. And that is going to draw him closer to Mrs. Guesty. She can do 19s, though, we've seen on lap 2. So she's just got to, but the tyres are starting to degrade, remember. Big Dan then on the mediums. How amazing is Big Dan doing? I've just noticed he's on the mediums. Shocking, Big Dan. Take a bloody boo before you even get there. Medium tyres, and he's closing in on second place. Madalinsky on the softs, and they must be starting to slip away from him now, because he's got a gap between him and Big Dan, and he's got the Homesick Alien closing in at a rate of knots, and Homesick Alien taking the fastest lap of the race so far. Haas's got, where is the Psycho? Matt Psycho, he wasn't there before. Do we slip back? No, we're not going to go back. But yeah, Matt Psycho having an issue somewhere along the way. Oh no, I hope it wasn't Bazza again. We saw he was coming up towards Bazza. No, he'd already got past him, didn't he? Cleared him. Bazza went off, didn't he? And ended up down with Koikarp. So Snorlax there looking like it was a hopeless race, up 2 places already, and inside of the Mazdas that look like they're a bit of a handful on their medium tyres. Chiren, meanwhile, is doing it. He's doing the do like Betty Boo, and no one can touch him. No, you can't touch this. So Chiren leading from Mrs. Guesty, but the biggest Dan, he's coming. He cometh. So Mrs. Guesty 120.2 matching 120.1 from Big Dan, and this is cushy from Mrs. Guesty if she can maintain that pace. But Big Dan's on the mediums and Mrs. Guesty on the softs. Those softs are only going one way. Down, baby. Madalinsky still ahead of the Alien, but the Alien now using a toe to get by the Lexus. The Hyundai looking feisty today, and maybe possibly up for a podium, but that gap between him and Big Dan is quite a big one, and it's not done and dusted. Oh, Madalinsky might get in Hauser's way. I think Hauser was having a think about it coming down that straight, and now Hauser all up and in the Polish pilot's business, and it's all beautiful stuff there between the two drivers there. Hauser going outside, and Madalinsky protecting the inside. Defence from the Lexus driver, and it is glorious to see. And let's get on board. Oh no, sorry, get you dizzy. On board with Hauser. Chiren still leads from Mrs. Guesty ahead of Big Dan, and Hauser is absolutely slinging that Peugeot. Oh, Madalinsky goes a little wide there, kicks up a little dust, but it doesn't slow him down any. And Hauser is really starting to try and get the pressure on to Madalinsky to force those mistakes. And there you go, another one, small one. And Hauser is through. That's all it takes. And that's the pro of Hauser. Madalinsky then in 6th, and the Baz, it's a bit of a gap, but Madalinsky can't rest yet, because the Baz is on those medium tyres and they're barely touching the tarmac. Koikarp now being caught by Snorlax. Snorlax's softs not looking as good as they did, but it's not disturbing his pace in any such way, and he could be getting himself past the Mazda pretty soon. Let's have a look at the top end and how they're getting on. Chiren smashing in the 19s. He's got a lovely gap between himself and Mrs. Guesty. Mrs. Guesty not as comfortable. A 20.2 last time around from the lady. Big Dan a 20.1. Oh well, that's the same thing we looked at. They must have crossed the line again. Oh, he did a 19.4 in the meantime. So Big Dan really is starting to put the pressure on the Mitsubishi driver, and Mrs. Guesty standing her ground, getting that car on the apexes, taking the inside lines and not giving Big Dan the space he wants to sling one up the inside. of any of the corners. The view from Big Dan. This is the fight in the podium. Homesick Alien closing in on these guys, remember, but he might be just too far back. We're on lap 9 of 14, so still plenty of laps to go in this race. You can still see Shiren as well, can't you? That is exciting. I thought Shiren absolutely planted it, but he's not that far ahead of these guys. If his tyres die before the end of the race, you know someone who's going to be in a very good spot for it. So Big Dan virtually grooming Mrs. Guesty at this point. Mr. Guesty should start worrying. They're getting very cozy here, and there goes Big Dan. He's going for it, but no, he knows what's coming next. Backs out and waits for his moment. Tricky corner, that one, going down this hill as well. Short lift. Virtually no lift whatsoever in the Group 3 cars. Monster vehicles here, and up and over the hill, and the Mitsubishi deals with that corner so much better than the Mazda did, and Mrs. Guesty pulls out a bit of breathing space. Homesick Alien meanwhile closing in on the battling podium cars and getting rather close, and so is the Haas, but Homesick Alien's tyres half burnt, especially on the left hand side. Madalinsky then, he's got that gap between himself and the Baz, 20.3, his fastest lap of the race so far, but the Baz is a 20.0 on those medium tyres and is closing in the threat that he is. Matt Psycho is ahead of Snorlax, so Koikar's dropped behind the Peugeot and the Lexus now, and he is struggling on those medium tyres, and the Halfmeister in the Beamer is trying to stay up with those cars. Shiren then leads the race. Oh, Big Dan's done the job. Big Dan has done the job. Oh my God, when did he do the job? So here we go then. Mrs. Guesty has done amazingly, and wow, that seemed a little easy. Big Dan just drove around. A little too early on the brakes there from Mrs. Guesty. Maybe worried about that tyre deg. And Big Dan through quite easily. But Mrs. Guesty may be coming back. This may have been the plan, to let Big Dan through for the big toe. But no, Big Dan absolutely planting his car exactly where he needs to. And the worry here is a Homesick Alien, but his tyres are starting to degrade quite bad. And he has the Flying Fin for company. Madalinsky, Baza are between himself and Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho needs to be scoring more than the Finnish Peugeot driver, but at the moment he is looking rough at the back of the pack. Homesick Alien meanwhile chasing down Mrs. Guesty, is getting closer, and those tyres might be getting a bit of a handful for the Mitsubishi driver. Big Dan, meanwhile, how's Shiren getting on? Shiren's looked after his tyres wonderfully. Absolutely great stuff from Shiren. And we're on lap 11 of 14. Big Dan on chase for the win. Mrs. Guesty under pressure now from the Alien. Homesick Alien absolutely driving like El Diablo, is sat beside him. He's co-piloted by the devil, and he is absolutely chugging it in his Hyundai. And now he's come across the Mitsubishi driver, and Haza looking at a move at the Hyundai, and he's still looking at a move, isn't he? Still looking at a move, I believe. And Homesick Alien not concerning himself with the Peugeot driver just now. He's just trying to deal with the matter in hand. And Haza right on his tailgate. And this is juicy. Juicy, Lucy. Haza going for the move, but he's over the white line. No, he's there. He's there. Oh, I think he waited, but still side by side. And that is Haza getting the position from the Alien, but the Alien not giving... Well, he's given him just enough space there. Haza wanted more, and the Alien said, you do not get any more. And Haza then moves up and into fourth place, and now he is on the attack, or is he? Because Homesick Alien, I don't think he appreciated that move, and I think he's coming back at the Peugeot driver. He's still got some grip in those tyres yet. And I think he feels he can get by the Peugeot, although there Haza has really planted it through that chicane and has pulled himself out a little bit of a gap there from the Alien. Meanwhile, Mrs. Guesty enjoying the view from the back, view mirror at the battle that's happening behind her, but now Haza has been released, and Mrs. Guesty is going to be struggling to keep hold of this podium. It would seem Shiren leads from Big Dan, and Mrs. Guesty in third, lap 13 of 14, but the Haza is absolutely chugging it in his medium-tired Peugeot. It's come to life here as the soft-running cars are starting to lose the grip that they need to stay ahead of the mediums. Oh, and Haza later on the brakes to Mrs. Guesty, but it helps her through and builds up a space and gives Homesick Alien another bite at the cherry. Meanwhile, Baz is up into 6th. Matt Psycho's in 7th. Sorry, Madalinsky's dropped behind a little bit, but he's in 8th ahead of Snorlax, but he's just lost the Lexus as he gathers her up. But I think Snorlax also having tyre issues. Can't attack Snorlax. Mrs. Guesty still ahead. I'm trying to get through. Koikap then in 10th ahead of the halves, and Shiren leads. Big Dan Shiren starts the final lap. Mrs. Guesty, all she has to do is cling on for one more lap, but I do not feel that she can do it because Haza is an absolute demon. And there he goes already into the first corner. His tyres so much in a better state, and it looks like Mrs. Guesty may lose it to Homesick Alien. Homesick Alien trying to find his way through there, but he backs out of it and thinks I'm going to have to try another way. Up the inside here though, Mrs. Guesty closing it off, and Mrs. Guesty absolutely slinging it there. She may have lost the podium, but she doesn't want to lose another spot. And Shiren coming around, and he's hitting the very long straight with Big Dan. Can he keep second? Because Haza is on the moves as they come around. He's got a long straight here, but he's got a nice gap. Then Mrs. Guesty still ahead of the Alien. The Alien's tyres, pretty poor condition. Can he get by? The Baz, is he safe from Matt Psycho? These two are each other's nemesis. They used to be teammates, not anymore. And Snorlax there is ahead of Madalinsky. We saw he was behind Madalinsky, and Madalinsky was having a struggle in the corner with the tyres. And Snorlax getting through also with worn tyres. Oh, sorry. Shiren's got across the line. Bloody hell. So Shiren coming up that very long straight. Oh, yeah. Around, through the chicane, into the last turn, as the Americans would say. Final turn, on to the straightaway. God damn it, the Russian has won. Well done, Shiren. Congratulations. Big Dan looks like he's going to maintain second spot. Big Dan in second. Haza, take a boo, my son, in third. Homesick Alien fourth. Mrs. Guesty. Oh, Homesick got Mrs. Guesty on that final lap. That's a shame. The Baz getting sixth. Good points there, but no, is he? Oh, he lifted. Cheeky lift to let Matt Psycho through. Snorlax in 8th, Madalinsky in 9th. Koikap coming home in 10th. Wow, it was very close in the midfield. And the Halfmeister also virtually there as well. Fantastic racing by all. Well done, gang. So, Shiren, first win of the season. Baz is in the chat saying Mrs. Guesty one fast pachanga on track. For explanation, ask Big D or Sky what a pachanga is, eh? Sexist bees. I'm sure it's some sexist term. So, Shiren gets his first win, I believe. I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm not checking any stats. I'm not Pat the Stat. I don't know these things, but I think we've only had Peugeots. It's been a bit of a Red Bull season, this one. I think it's just Peugeots, and Homesick may have won. I think only one. And other than that, it's been Pug United. So Shiren gets the Beamers a win this season. Well done. Big Dan, cracking drive from Big Dan there on the medium tyres, and kept his head down, got the lap times in, absolutely stole the show. The Stag is doing well. Haase, unbelievable drive there to get himself third, and had to make some great moves near the end. Big racing from the Flying Finn to round out the podium. Homesick Alien looked like he was chasing that podium down, but the tyres just couldn't stay there for the end of the race for him, and he lost a little bit of grip in allowing Haase to get through. Mrs. Guesty, absolute stunning drive. Did nothing wrong whatsoever, and deserved the podium, but unfortunately the tyres were not, they couldn't go the way. The medium tyres seemed to be the tyre for this race. Matt Psycho getting sixth as Bazza letting him past right at the very end, but I mean, I think Matt Psycho in sixth, him and Bazza had a coming together on the first lap, so yes, I suppose Bazza feels he's paid some karma back. Although I don't think it was Bazza's fault, just he might not have noticed that he had a Matt Psycho up the side of him. But yeah, so Matt Psycho sixth, the Baz in seventh, with Snorlax coming home in eighth, and his race looked absolutely depressing on lap one after he tried to make a move in the third. I don't even think he was at fault for anything. I think it was just a bit of a cluster truck of cars all in one place, and it's just one of those Road Atlanta things we've come to expect. So Snorlax in eighth, and Madalinsky in ninth. Absolutely cracking race for Madalinsky, but his tyres just couldn't hold in there near the end, although they don't look as bad as some of the other people around him. But yeah, Madalinsky, you could see he was struggling in the corners in the last lap or two. Koikap in 10th, never got started with the Mazda on the medium tyres, and I imagine he's going to run all softs in the feature. And the Halfmeister lost out early on because his lap times are pretty damn good. So early on in the race, he missed out somewhat, but he led at the beginning quite well. Right then, so that's that. Done and dusted. Let's go to the feature race then, where the grid will line up as you would expect. Where's this going to dump me out? Not there. I don't want that. I want that. I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. Are we even going to do a grid walk? Now I'll just flick down it, see what tyres people are on. There's no point. We did a grid walk in the first bit. It's just reverse of that. So as it loads up the feature race, don't look at the cheeks. Pat saying first non-Peugeot win of the season. Oh, is it? So Homesick hasn't won one. I thought Homesick had won one. Well, there you go. Spank my bum and call me Gladys. I did not know. I thought Homesick had won a sprint or something. Somehow fluked a sprint or something at Bathurst, wasn't it? Hang on. I'm not having it, Pat. I'm calling that Homesick got a win at Bathurst. I'm sure I did, because the Peugeots were dismal, weren't they? Or did Haase get the win and just moaned that it was really bad? Checking this out. Oh, actually, he's probably right, you know. He's, no, yeah. Homesick Alien got a win. Homesick Alien got a win. Bathurst, I think, round 5. Bathurst, yes. And he also got a win at Nürburgring. So Homesick Alien's won 2 races this season. Sorry. So yeah, no, we've had Hundies and Pugs win. That's it. So it's the first non-Pug and Hundi win. Right then. So yeah, okay. I'll leave it on pause because all the lights are on. Is it a rolling? No, it's obviously not a rolling start. So Haas are starting on the mediums with Matt Psycho. They've already used the mediums. They're still on one compound. They've got to use the softs or hards if they need to. But yeah, Madalinsky wasn't on pole after all. That's a shame. So yeah, they're the 2 Peugeots starting on the medium tyres. Homesick Alien going with the softs. We know he's taking it 14 laps. So It's the cat, was it? Okay. So Homesick Alien on the soft tyre, Shiren on the soft tyre. He'll be feeling like $1 million or credits after that win. Big Dan in fifth is on mediums. The Bazza also on medium tyres. Snorlax starting on the mediums. Mrs. Guesty starting on the softs. Koi Carp going with the mediums. Halfmeister going with the softs. Madalinsky going with the mediums. Pat saying, okay, wasn't sure. I've not got my stats open currently. Ah, there you go, Pat. Yes, no, I remember they had a not a great time at Bathurst. I'd forgotten that Homesick had got a win. It was the rain, wasn't it? Yeah, the rain helped. So, you know, Bathurst and a wet track has stopped the Peugeots winning everything. Right, anyway, what am I doing? Let's just press that. And it's lights out for the feature race, 34 laps. Haza on pole, pulling away from the other Peugeot, and this should be straightforward for the Peugeot drivers. It's just which one's going to win, with Shiren then moving up ahead of Homesick Alien, having an absolutely cracking start in the Beamer, and he'll be feeling great, will Shiren. Maybe he'll be fancying taking the fight to the Peugeots. Meanwhile, Snorlax all over the Alien as well, on the medium tyres, the Hyundai. A little slow, a bit of tyre smoke there where I think Snorlax had to lock up to avoid the Alien. And yeah, Homesick Alien's tyres not up to temp just yet. Big Dan there, he's chasing down the Snorlax with Madalinsky in 7th, Mrs. Guesty in 8th, the Halves in 9th. And Koi Carp 10th there behind, and the Baz falling right to the back there somehow, some way. And Haza, meanwhile, he's pulling away, and Shiren's going for a move on the Peugeot, and Shiren, the ball's on the man. Check him out, absolutely fearless. But Matt Psycho holds his ground and holds his position. Great driving from the pair of them. Homesick Alien in 4th gets to view it. Let's on board with the Alien, shall we? And we've got movement. Halves and has just moved behind Madalinsky and the Guesty. Mrs. Guesty, sorry. And there's some battling at midfield, but we just wanted to see Homesick Alien. But that's it. It looks like Matt Psycho's got his pace back, and as all that Shiren could do was all on that first lap, because now the Peugeots are in the groove, baby. In the groove of it. Let's have a look then. Mrs. Guesty just behind Big Dan, the Halves there. Koi Carp, so, ooh, someone's nosediving. Oof. Damage on Snorlax. He's gone in. It's gone in. That's early doors. That's no good. Not even in a strategy kind of way can that help you. So what a bizarre thing. He's put soft tyres on. Maybe he didn't want to put the mediums on, but that's odd, because really fuel is a big deal in the feature races, and you don't want to make an unnecessary pit stop if it doesn't gain you a little fuel somewhere along the way. So Haza then leads from Matt Psycho, who's under pressure from Shiren, and remember the Alien, great with fuel conservation, and looks after his tyres pretty well too. So he'll just be wanting to sit behind the battle. Just tuck himself in behind this fight and hope to gain a few laps on them when they need to pit. Haza at the moment making no doubts on this one. He's stamping his authority here at Road Atlanta. He got a podium in the sprint race, and he's looking for gold here today. Matt Psycho is the man that wants to stop him, and Shiren, he's going to have a false sense of speed from his win from the sprints, but the Peugeots are unstoppable. I don't think anyone's won a feature race, Pat. A non-Peugeot's ever won a feature race. Pretty sure the only wins that you see that are odd, not of Peugeot orientation, are in the sprints. So we were both right, Pat. So Shiren then on the hunt. He certainly is on the hunt, but he's on the soft tyre, remember. And the two Peugeots yet to use that soft tyre. And it seems like they're slightly reluctant to. And maybe they wear the tyre too soon, and the soft tyre not that good for them here, possibly. They will have to use something different than a medium tyre at some point in this race, though, to tick the box of the 2 compound rule. Homesick Alien not staying with the 3 ahead of him, dropping back a little bit. Is he looking after his tyres, checking out his fuel a little bit in the Draper Tools Hyundai? And Big Dan is just keeping pace in mid-pack there. You can see the Alien, and he's just ahead of Mrs. Guesty, having another superb drive. 6th place so far on the soft tyre, chasing down Big Dan. Big Dan seems happy on those mediums in the Mazda. That combo has worked well for him so far in this round. The Mazda, medium Mazda. Mrs. Guesty chasing him in the Mitsubishi, the lone Mitsubishi, with the Halfmeister being caught now by Koikap. Koikap starting to pile on that pressure. Madalinsky's dropped back to the 9th with Bazza in 10th, and we saw Snorlax going into the pits to change from the mediums to the soft tyre. A strange move. Now, I know it doesn't rain in America, but it does look a bit gloomy out there, but I'm pretty sure none of the American tracks are affected by rain, so but it means that the track, with a bit of overcast, means the track will be a bit cooler, and those that are on the soft tyre, like Mrs. Guesty, Sharon, that's going to help them. It's going to help them a lot with tyre wear, because it is rather gloomy out there. So Halfmeister at the moment, absolutely driving out of his skin to try and stay ahead of the mighty Mazda. To the corner, carrying a lovely bit of speed there for car 11, but the Mazda already up the inside. And yeah, Koikap makes the move and catches the Beamer braking mid-corner. And that's Koikap now chasing down Mrs. Guesty. But there's a fair bit of distance between the two of them. Halves on those soft tyres. He might come back at Koi though in the corners. He'll have a lot better grip. He's on the brakes. He's just keeping an eye on the Mazda there. As he goes a little wide coming out the corner onto the mud. And there's no grip on that stuff. I tell thee. He's driving a Beamer, not a tractor. So Madalinsky then. He's got a bit of a gap now between himself and his fellow competitors, but he's healthily ahead of the Baz. The Baz, is he trying to one-stop or something? Absolutely dropping off the pace. Well, he's not. He's got good pace. That second lap, he had an absolute stonker. And Snorlax with the early pit stop to get rid of the medium tyres. Maybe he just wants to run on softs all the way through this race. Didn't want to use the mediums for more than one lap, ever. But it's a strange strategy because he's already on the back foot. And will he have to make more stops than he should have done for fuel? We'll see. Haza, meanwhile, absolutely owning it here at Road Atlanta. Is it Road Atlanta? It is Road Atlanta, isn't it? Not Road Atlantic. I keep wanting to say Atlantic, but I'm pretty sure it's Road Atlanta. Let me see if I can find a list. It is Road Atlanta. Taking my hat off. Having a scratch on my head. Lap 7 of 34. So far, Haza has led everything in this race. Matt Psycho chasing him down, but he's got Sharon for company, although there is a gap forming between himself and the Peugeot, and Homesick Alien is starting to cozy up to the Russian sensation. Big Danath is closing up as well. Now that, he has definitely got closer. What lap times are they doing? A 20.6 from Alien, 20.3 from Sharon, Big Dan at 20.3. Same lap times, but yeah, it looks like Big Dan has got himself a little closer to the battle there in third and fourth. Mrs. Guesty, the threat is Koi Carp for her, 120.2 from Mrs. Guesty last time around. Koi Carp 20.7, so she's faster than Koi at the moment. And she's just got to keep those lap times are coming, and that'll stay ahead of Koi, although Koi's on the medium tyres, so he's going long. He's going long, baby. Halves on them softs. He's not let the Koi get away. He stayed with him. And they are racing hard, this pair out there. The Bazinator is being caught by Madalinsky. It does look so. 25-0 for Madalinsky last time around. No, Baz has got past Madalinsky, I'm afraid. So, oh, yellow flag up ahead. It's the halves. The halves has sent it too hard. And the Baz gets by. That's 2 positions now for the Baz. He's loving life. He's not even trying, he says. I'm not even trying. I've gained 2 spots. The Mazdas are hot to trot today at Road Atlanta, and the sun is starting to come out, so them tyres will be starting to feel the wear and the tear of the tarmac. 11th for Snorlax now. He's come across the halves, and the halves doesn't make it difficult for him, as he was carrying a little bit of damage. And now that's Snorlax up and into 10th place after his pit stop. Madalinsky, easy prey just ahead, so maybe Snorlax was onto something with this pit stop idea. Bazza not pulling too far away from Madalinsky. Koi Carp is ahead of him, but by some way there is quite a chasm of space between the Baz and Koi. Mrs. Guesty clinging onto the back of the Danster. Oh, crazy Danster. Or Tiny Danster. But he's a big guy, isn't he? I can't call him Tiny Danster. So, Pat saying, this one is Atlanta, like the city is near, not Road America, that I sometimes nearly call it. That one is up past Chicago, nearly in Canada, i.e. So, Mrs. Guesty, absolutely splendid job from Mrs. Guesty, Mr. Guesty's better half out there. Absolutely creating chaos between the boys. And Big Dan pulled out a 19.8 from somewhere. But he was closing in on the 2 cars, but they're really starting to go. 19.0 from Homesick and 19.6 from Shiren. So that's it. They've started turning the engines up. They've got to get going. And Matt Psycho, solid job in the 19s all the way. And Haza tipping it into the 18s, because he is more machine than he is humane. So Haza absolutely destroying it here at Road Atlanta. He is the king of the road. And Matt Psycho just absolutely nailing it every lap, and still not enough. What more can a man do? Shiren is under pressure now. I don't know if it's a tyre thing. No, Shiren's got more grip, or more on his tyre than the Alien has. So, yeah, Shiren struggling with pace at this point in the race, and Homesick Alien's starting to really bear down on him. We're on lap 10 of 34, 24 laps to go, and this is going to be a long one. It's going to be a late night beat, girls and boys. Do not make that hot cocoa just yet. Shiren then third, Matt Psycho in second, with Haza leading the way, crossing the line, and 19.1, unstoppable. And there is Matt Psycho at 19.0, couldn't quite tip it into the 18s. 19.2 from Shiren. The pace is unbelievable out there. 19.3 from Homesick Alien. Big Dan at 20.2 with Mrs. Guesty 21.2. Now this is the concern. What can Koi? 21.9. So at the moment Mrs. Guesty doing just fine and holding off the Koi, but the Koi does look like he's been slowly getting closer to Mrs. Guesty. Coy yet to use a second compound though, and nor has Mrs. Guesty, I believe. She's just used soft so far. The Bazinator on a set of mediums there, and he's still got quite a big gap between himself and Coy, but he's done his fastest lap of the race. Snorlax is up ahead of Madalinsky. In fact, Halves is up ahead of Madalinsky. Is Madalinsky pitted, or is he just saving fuel? But Madalinsky slipping to the back of the pack, and that was reserved for the Halves not that long ago. But the Halves absolutely pulling. Lap 9 was a killer. Was a killer lap, man. Just killer lap. And here comes Haza again to cross the line to show us what he's got. No sign of pit stops yet. About half tanked for the boys out there. That'll put us down to about lap 24, so only the one stopper anyway. Shiren is still holding off the Alien for a podium at the moment. And Big Dan, he's getting through his medium tyres more than the soft runners have. Soft runner Shiren's absolutely delightful on his tyres. And Big Dan will be feeling a sloppy front end of his car soon. It'll just be feeling horrible and a bit slidey. It'll not want to point into the corners. Mrs. Guesty, oh yeah, she's getting through her softs, but I think a torn up set of softs is still better than a torn up set of mediums. I found anyway. Usually the mediums are just pointless when they're only half worn. So Big Dan pushing on. Did a 21.0 last time around. Mrs. Guesty a 20.7. So Mrs. Guesty can close the gap. Koi Carp a 23.1. Is he having that same issue with a half-worn set of mediums? It looks like it. Bazza's still got life in his mediums. He's still pulling out the early 20s. The mid-20 last time around. Snorlax on his softs. They're pretty worn, but he's still in the 19s. He's got about half a tank of fuel. Now, I am wondering if they will need fuel. They will need fuel. What am I talking about? And Madalinsky closing in on the Halfmeister in his Lexus. It's Lexus versus BMW. And that moment, the Halfmeister doing a fantastic job on an old set of soft tyres. And Madalinsky barely even touching the sides on his mediums. 22.5 from the Polish pilot. With halves of 24.0, so it won't be long until Madalinsky will be all up and in the halves' business. And the Beamer screaming round the corners for lack of grip. Snorlax, meanwhile, has he caught up the Baz? Yeah, I saw a bit of dust being kicked up. And Snorlax absolutely owning it at the moment, but his tyres are very old. I'm surprised they're sticking in there. And he's right on the Baz now. He's going for a move down the short straight. The Baz planting it, but just not enough. That Lexus having a better drive with the better grip out of the corner, carrying more speed down the straight. And it's Snorlax's position now, 8th place, with Bazza slipping down and into 9th. But Bazza only has to wait Snorlax out. Those tyres are looking pretty grim. Oh no, was he on his way to the pits? Let's hope he was. Koi Carp going in the pits in style. 360ing into the pit lane. I don't know if he needed a pit stop, but that's what he's got. The halves then coming up across him. Koi in the pits, should I say, and Madalinsky as well. So Koi Carp, can he? Well, he hasn't totally filled up. He's put medium tyres on again. Has he run a set of softs? Oh no, it might change actually. It doesn't always change until they hit the line. They're probably soft tyres. He's asking for a set of softs to do 20 laps. He's asking a lot there. No, set of mediums. No, set of softs. Oh, bloody Gran Turismo 7. Why do you do the silly little things that you do? Jesus. So yeah, he's gone for a set of softs. 20 laps is a big ask. Big ask, especially as he's going through the first corner sideways. Great stuff, Coy. Love it. He 360s into the pits, and he comes out and goes sideways through the first corner. That is racing. So Big Dan's pitted. He slipped down as well. No, maybe that's just because he's pitted. Looking glum again out there, but again, no rain in the USA. They don't do rain. Oh, he hasn't slipped down. He's only behind Mrs. Guesty. Thought he was ahead of Shiren and Homesick. So the Baz gets by. And Mrs. Guesty not looking likely for a pit stop just yet. The tyres are done, but she is having too much fun. So Mrs. Guesty slapping it around out there. With the Mitzi behaving very nicely around Road Atlanta. And doing a glorious job. The Baz, he's doing 21 ones. Mrs. Guesty 21 threes, about the same. She's not losing time to the Baz. She was chasing Big Earth Daneth, who's gone for another set of mediums. Has he used softs? He hasn't, you know. So he's going to have to do another pit stop. That is very bizarre. Not quite halfway. He didn't need the fuel, but his tyres were torn up. I suppose he sees that he can't put softs on. And now he's trying to warm his tyres up. But yeah, he's yet to use the soft tyre. Madalinsky on them medium tyres. Big gap between himself and Big Earth Daneth. And Snorlax has had to make another pit stop. He's gone for a medium set of tyres. And he's found himself right just ahead of Koikarp, who's on a set of softs and should be faster. The Halfmeister also pitting, but he's come across the leaders. Haza has not pitted yet. And is he likely to? Well, he's got to, because he hasn't used a set of soft tyres, and nor has Matt Psycho. And he's worn his tyres a lot more than the Matt Psycho. Meanwhile, look at this battle here. And they've got past, no, they haven't quite got past the lap car. Shiren has, but Homesick Alien hasn't. But there we go, Halfmeister doing the do with the halves. I'm telling you, take that rookie badge off. You don't need it anymore. That was beautifully done. So Shiren and Homesick Alien are locked in that battle. Homesick Alien barely any rubber left on his tyre. Shiren a little bit more than the Aliens. And none of the top 5 electing to pit yet. Is this Mrs. Guesty? No. No, still no pit stop from the elegant, delightful Mrs. Guesty. And she's cracking on in 5th place. Great drive from Mrs. Guesty. The Bazza also not pitting. And there is the Big Dan. He has pitted. He pitted from 5th place. But he has not used a set of soft tyres, I don't believe. I think he's only used mediums. So he will be planning another visit to his mechanics before the end of this race, which is bizarre, because you can obviously you can do this race in one stop. But he's opted to make it a 2-stopper, whereas I think a lot of these at the front here are going one stop. We're at lap 17. Halfway is 17. Lap 17 is halfway. And they've got half the amount of fuel. They don't even need to pit, do they? Jesus. So Haza leads by a great deal. Matt Psycho, we've got some spins here. We've got some weird cars facing different ways. Oh, they must have all just been coming in the pits. So yes, Homesick and Shiren both into the pits. It says Homesick's ahead of Shiren, but I'm sure he's not. And Mrs. Guesty comes around yet again, and not a pit stop in sight for Mrs. Guesty. There's a lot of banners along the straight. I'm surprised we've not seen a safety car for those. But that's because we're not pussies like F1 and we just race. So Mrs. Guesty not even making a pit stop. The tyre is ready to deflate itself, but she's pushing on. Homesick Alien out on a set of medium tyres, and that makes sense. He was on softs at the beginning. Where's Shiren? Is Shiren slipped behind Big Dan? What has happened? Has Shiren overfueled? I think Shiren has overfueled. Yeah, Homesick Alien's got about just over half a tank of fuel. Big Dan just under half a tank. Shiren has put in somewhere between half a tank and 3/4. Maybe the Beamer a little bit thirstier than the Hyundai. But Shiren losing time on the track due to refueling issues. Matt Psycho comes into the pits to make a stop, and he's going to have to put soft tyres on. Now, can he make the soft tyres last 15 laps? We saw at the end of lap 14 in the sprint race, some of the cars out there were really struggling with them, and Haase then leads from Matt Psycho. Mrs. Guesty is finally coming into the pits. Homesick Alien then is to set about going up to third spot. She's been chasing most of this race behind Shiren, and Shiren putting in a little bit more fuel, losing out to Big Dan, but we think Big Dan hasn't used a set of softs. He wasn't on softs, was he? No, he was on mediums in the sprint race. He started this race on the mediums, I'm sure. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And maybe he was on softs. Maybe I'm wrong. I doubt myself now. I always doubt myself, though. On the soft tyres. See, I don't think he was. I think he was on the mediums. Oh well, it'll all become clear later in the race, I'm sure, but at the moment, Big Dan ahead of the Russian sensation, and the Russian sensation's on the mediums as well as Homesick Alien. Big Dan, we think, has to come back into the pits though before the end of the race to put on a set of softs, and maybe that's his idea. Last 10 laps or something, maybe around lap 24, he'll peel off into the pit lane, put some softs on. He'll have a big enough gap to the people behind fifth. Mrs. Guest has come out of the pits behind Madalinsky, but Madalinsky has yet to pit. Very good on his tyres, very good. He comes across yet again. Lap 19 without a pit stop. Great drive. Mrs. Guesty in 7th ahead of Snorlax, who's now on a set of medium tyres, and he's pulling away from Koikap. You remember that? Oh, Koikap's picked up a bit of damage somewhere, and he's on those soft tyres, chasing down Snorlax, who looks like he's only just keeping grip. Haase comes in for a pit. Did he need one? Possibly, who knows? But he's come in for one anyway, just for the laugh of it. Matt Psycho already pitted. He's gone to the soft tyre, and there's some distance between himself and the Alien, but not a major amount of distance. But the Alien on the medium tyres, and yeah, you never know that Matt Psycho may kill those soft tyres and be susceptible to the Alien stealing second place away from him. But in the championship fight, he can't be done with that. He needs to be scoring as close to Haase as possible. Big Dan, meanwhile, in 4th place. I bet he can't believe it. I bet he thought he was going to still be in 5th. And now he wishes he put soft tyres on, although he wouldn't have been able to go the 20 laps he's asking that car to do. So, yeah, tyre wear alone has forced his hand with his strategy. But at the moment, sitting pretty. But Shiren, who is not going to pit again for this race, should end up ahead of the Big Dan. But if Big Dan does slip in and put some soft tyres on right at the dead of the race, he could be a rather dangerous. Madalinsky still not pitting, and why should he? His tyres are in a great state at the moment. But Mrs. Guesty is closing in at 21.3 from Mrs. Guesty last time around, and Madalinsky at 20.8. My word, Madalinsky on fire. At 21 of 34 here at Road Atlanta for round 8 of the Super Touring Cars Championship at the Virtual Racers Club. Don't forget to get involved, get in the group, get racing, join us, be one of us. And you also could be like Madalinsky and Guesty, Mrs. Guesty here, gearing up for a battle royale. If you've got a bit of spare time on a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday or Sunday, They are our race nights. It's a bit quiet this side of Christmas, but in the new year, I am sure there will be an explosion of racing on the scene, baby. So there we go. Mrs. Guesty chasing herself down. A Madalinsky, 20.8. Madalinsky managing a 21.6. And this is crucial now. Madalinsky's tyres may have gone past their best. In fact, I am almost 100% ready to confirm. Who said that? Madalinsky's tyres have gone past their best. And now Mrs. Guesty is tightening the bolts of the pressure cooker and is going to absolutely own a piece of Polish pilotism. Haase, meanwhile, is leading this race. And anything except for the abduction of aliens is not going to stop that, because he is absolutely planted this one. He licked it on lap 1. And he's been sending it ever since. Matt Psycho, though, does take the fastest lap away from the race, and that will sting Haase. That'll niggle him. That will niggle him. 18.6 was his best. 18.527 from Matt Psycho. But the distance between them, too great. Too great. Well, it's not that big, is it? I tell thee. But Haase does look after his tyres. Yeah, we'll see. We'll watch that space. Homesick Alien loving life in a podium position here. No one near him. Big Dan, though, does look like he's getting some pressure from the Russian. No, not even that much pressure. A little bit behind him, isn't he? So Big Dan at the moment, comfortable. It has to be said. Comfortable in 4th place. Shiren, remember, on the medium tyres, but so is Big Dan. Nicely used big tyres, though. Is there a cat meowing? Are you meowing, Sock? What are you meowing at? Freaking me out. Is there something outside? It's in the trees. It's coming. So Haase then leads the race, 17.9. Oh my God, talk about kicking a man when he's in 2nd place and feels like he's doing well. Jeez. So Haase putting Matt Psycho in his place. With 17.9, Jesus. So Matt Psycho in 2nd place. Also getting purples, though. It's the battle of the fastest laps at this point. Homesick Alien looking good for a podium. Don't know who's going to fight him for it. I think Big Dan's got to come back in the pit lane at some point. We've got 10 laps left of the race. And I don't know if Big Dan or when he's going to pull the trigger on that one, but I think he's going to go for a final assault on the soft tyres and hope that the guys that are out there are absolutely mullering their tyres, and he's going to close in on them. He did a lovely little sideways there, through a corner. Delicious. I noticed Big Dan, and I loved it. It gave me a funny feeling in my testicles. So Shiren in 5th. Mrs. Guesty under fire from Snorlax. Snorlax, the sleeping giant throughout this race. Oh, a little tap up the bum for Mrs. Guesty. We're not allowed to do that anymore, Snorlax. It's not the 70s. We've got to keep our hands to ourselves. So Snorlax then chasing down Mrs. Guesty. And Koikart, meanwhile, is in 8th place. This seems to be the battle on the track at the moment, though. And Snorlax giving Mrs. Guesty a lot to think about. He's on the medium tyres, but they're both on the medium tyres. But he's burning his medium tyres a lot more than Mrs. Guesty is. And Mrs. Guesty's doing it. She's keeping her car ahead of the Lexus. And he just can't figure out. He needs a can opener with Mrs. Guesty. She is a wriggler. So Snorlax trying to fight Mrs. Guesty, but she's wriggly. Here we go. Shiren has caught up the biggest of Dana, and Shiren will be looking to make the kill. and move up to 4th, but he'll be scratching his head out. He lost that 3rd place. Put too much fuel in Shiren, I'm afraid. That's the only thing I can put it down to. So Shiren moves up to 3rd with a lovely smooth move on the Mazda, who I do still believe has to come in and pit, but I don't know when. I don't think he's used soft tyres at all. I think he used mediums in the sprint, and only mediums so far in this feature. So Big Dan's out there. He's having a cracking race, but I do believe he's going to have to make a pit stop for a set of racing soft tyres. Mrs. Guesty, meanwhile, holding her own against Snorlax. Snorlax then lining her up for another attack. He's having a little sniff around the outside. Nothing happening there. Lining himself up for the inside here, but nothing happening there. Swings it out to try and get a move done, but no. Mrs. Guesty is on it, and now he's as close as he's ever been. This is the opportunity he is looking for, but I think he needs Mrs. Guesty to make a little mistake, and at the moment she has done none of that. She's gone very defensive. Beautiful stuff. And she doesn't mess up her braking, and Snorlax again frustrated by the skills, the mad skills that Mrs. Guesty is laying down. And Snorlax doesn't have an answer against the Mitsubishi. Beautiful stuff, beautiful driving from the pair of them, loving their work. Haza still leads from Matt Psycho with Homesick Alien in 3rd place. Big Dan is down to 5th now behind Shiren. And we're watching the battle for 7th and 6th with Mrs. Guesty and the Snorlax. Around that corner and starting lap 27 of 34. We are in the end game, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. The sun is going down. And we only have 7 laps to go, I believe, but a lot can happen in 7 laps, so let's stick with the action as Snorlax and Mrs. Guesty battle on. Further down, we've got the Bazinator in 8th place, ahead of Madalinsky, who's finally made a pit stop, put some soft tyres on. Can he catch the Baz up? There's quite a big distance there between them. Koikarp is in 10th on softs, and the Halfmeister on the mediums there. Looks like he's going all the way, but he's right in the fight with Koikarp. Haza then leads with Matt Psycho in 2nd place. Is Matt Psycho gaining? He's not. They're holding station, the pair of them. And Homesick Alien's tyres are absolutely delightful, where Matt Psycho's are half torn, and Haza's hardly used his. Shiren then back into, well, I say back into 4th. He was holding 3rd for the longest time ahead of the Alien, and during the pit stops he's over-fueled, I believe. Well, he's on the same fuel as the Alien is now. Homesick Alien conserving fuel, or maybe the Beamer just uses more fuel. Big Dan now, yeah, he will need to make a splash and dash. His fuel's flashing, and I think he'll get out the pits. Wow, it might be tight between himself and Mrs. Guesty. Mrs. Guesty, for the first time today, has made a mistake, and that has helped Snorlax get himself through and up and into 6th place, and that now is the threat that Big Dan is facing. But his tyres will be old by the end of this race, and Big Dan, he'll be on a set of fresh, soft tyres. Mrs. Guesty's done an absolute stunning race, and can take away from this a great buzz. Bazza in 8th. He's in the action still, is Baz, you know. I've taken my eye off the ball down this little fight down in the backfield, because they're all very close. Harvey, though, on those medium tyres, couldn't stay with the pace of Koikarp, who's made the 2nd pit stop for a set of soft tyres. Madalinsky's on a set of softs at the moment ahead of Koi, and quite nicely ahead. He's being lapped by Haza, I guess. Bazza not all that far behind. Big Dan does come in then for those soft tyres, and a splash, a tinkle of fuel, a shower of fuel. And yes, he's out behind Mrs. Guesty and Snorlax, but he is on a super brand new set of racing soft tyres, and he's going to be, well, in a lap or two when they warm up, he is going to be doing some killer moves. Already up and in Mrs. Guesty's business. And Big Dan was 5th and down in 7th for that pit stop, but he can see the 2 positions ahead of him. And with a set of softs, makes short work of Mrs. Guesty up the inside. And I think he had enough of his car there to claim it, but is he lifting, or he's just staying along with her? As they go drag racing down the long straight. And it says Big Dan's in 6th, but Mrs. Guesty's going to have the inside line, but an old set of mediums. And Big Dan gets on the brakes a lot later, nearly loses the Mazda mid-corner, but he is happily on his way. And now chasing down the Snorlax, who does a 20.5 last time around. Shiren no closer to closing in on the Alien, and the Alien, finds Halfmeister as the Bazza pits. The Bazza into the pits. He's going to put a set of softs on at the end, a bit of fun. And that means Madalinsky might gain another position. He does gain another position. Maybe that's why Bazza stopped and noticed that Madalinsky was closing in at a rate of knots, and thought, I need to be on the soft tyre. El Pronto. Meanwhile, Matt Psycho coming to put a lap on Madalinsky, getting slightly frustrated. I think I saw him flashing his lights just now. But the Haza is pulling away with this one. And the Haza's barely used his tyres, with Matt Psycho's tyres looking a little haggard. And I imagine he doesn't want to be stuck behind Madalinsky too long, because he's got a homesick Alien chasing him down. And his mediums must be just getting into the zone. Must be just fresh go. Snorlax then versus Big Dan. Snorlax on a well-used set of medium tyres against Big Dan's fresh set. Fresh bruv. Like the Bel Air. Oh, I thought he dropped it like it was hot, but he scooped her up. Save of the day. Call him Schultz. And Snorlax then, can he maintain that 5th place against a Big Dana, who's absolutely driven out of his skin today? Mrs. Guesty, currently 7th, deserves more with the drive she's put in. Fantastic stuff. Madalinsky then still ahead. Come on, the blue flags, Mads. Got to get out those blue flags. But he's faster, I suppose. He feels he's faster. But I don't know. You've got to let him go. Got to let him go sometimes. So where is Matt? He has let him go now. So Matt Psycho stuck behind Madalinsky for a while there. Madalinsky could be in trouble. Could be a jeopardy there. Homesick Alien and 20.1 last time around. Matt Psycho 20.1. So he's not gaining on Matt Psycho. Matt Psycho losing a bit of ground. Yeah, 18.4 for Haza. But Haza's tyres absolutely fresh as a daisy. So I don't think Haza's got an absolute care in the world or a worry. His worry hole is empty. So Matt Psycho in 2nd. Then we have Homesick Alien for the podium. Shiren. And Fuel's looking tight there. Well, 32, lap 32 of 34. Snorlax still ahead of Big Dana. It hasn't worked out the way Big Dan did. Wanted it to. Big Dan, though, doing his fastest lap, 18.7, but his fuel's flashing rather early. No one else's fuel's flashing. Shiren's has just started, and so's has Matt Psycho and Haza. So, yeah, he's in good company. Now to worry about there, then. But Snorlax being chased by Big Dana. Can he gain? Can he gain on him? His tyres are pretty much rotten. Snorlax's. So Big Dan's got that going for him. Fresh set of soft tyres as the sun is disappearing down behind the horizon. As Haza leads round 8. Is that both races for Haza? No, of course not, because Shiren won the first race, sorry. But he did get a podium and a win. So great work from the Peugeot driver. We're not there yet, we've still got a couple of laps to go. This one and the next one. He's just coming around the final corner. And this will be his final lap. Here we go, here we go. He's a good. He's Ebenezer good. So Matt Psycho chasing down the dream. And this championship's still very much alive. As Homesick Alien comes around to cross the line in a third place on the final lap. And it's very tight on the fuel here, but these guys know what they're doing. And they do it very well. So I'm sure nothing to concern themselves about too much with the fuel levels. But I'd feel uncomfortable driving into the final lap with that much fuel. Snorlax now under pressure from Big Dan. Those fresh tyres have started coming into their own, and he cannot decide what side he overtakes. Is it that side, this side? He's not sure. He's not sure what side he wants to overtake Snorlax on. Snorlax just trying to drive the racing line and hope for the best. And Big Dan there on the inside. This has got to be the one, in it into the final. No, Big Dan lifted out of that one, and he thinks he's still got a whole lap to go. And Dan in the chat, Bunny saying, good evening all been a long time, but Bunny is coming back very soon. Oh yes, get back in it. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, 1 second there. I missed the winner going over the line. So here he comes, the Haza, another win. I could count his wins, but I'm not going to. So Haza takes the win with Matt Psycho coming home in a second spot. And he's got to pull out some mean and amazing results in the next 2 rounds as he takes the line off the track. And Homesick Alien rounds out his season of podiums with yet again another podium. Great drive from the Hyundai driver. I wonder if he could have kept up with them if he was in a Peugeot. So Homesick Alien crosses the line in third spot. Shiren, well, I said he overfueled and lost that third, but he needed that extra fuel. So Shiren in fourth. Oh, take a boo, my son, Homesick Alien. Snorlax still ahead of Big Danner. Oh my word, only a couple more corners for Big Dan to get the job done. Look at them side by side. What an absolute race here. And Big Dan just eases forward under braking, but Snorlax trying to come back at him around the outside. But it looks like it's Big Dan that's got the position. My word. Last lap, last corners. Big Dan gets fifth, Snorlax sixth. Great racing, boys. Mrs. Guesty coming around for that seventh. Madelinsky's already finished in eighth. Oh, shoot. Hang on. So Madelinsky in eighth. Baz has finished in ninth. Koikart got 10th. Halfmeister got 11th. And Mrs. Guesty just coming around. She went that far behind Big Dan and Snorlax in the end, you know. Great drive from Mrs. Guesty for 7th spot. So it was the Flying Finn today that took all the accolades in the feature race. He got the fastest lap, he got the pole, and he got the win. The man is Road Atlanta. Matty Psycho coming home in second place. There he is. In the second Peugeot. And Homesick Alien rounds out your podium with Shiren. Great drive and a great win, remember, in the sprint race. Gets fourth in the feature, and his season continues on an upward trajectory. Big Dan, what a drive there. Gets fifth place off Snorlax in the end. Doesn't seem like a fair fight because Snorlax's tyres were dead. But still, take nothing away from it. Big Dan, what a drive. Great stuff. Fifth place. Snorlax in sixth. Good drive as well. He had a very early pit stop, though. Question that early pit stop. Maybe he could have done more. Without the early pit stop, we'll never know. Mrs. Guesty in 7th, consistent as ever, and some great racing we've seen from Mrs. Guesty. We saw a couple of cars come across her, think it was going to be... Come across her, that's what she said. Yeah, thought it was going to be easy pickings, but no, Mrs. Guesty is a handful. That's what Mr. Guesty says anyway. Madalinsky in 8th place with the Bazza in 9th, Koikarp in 10th, and the Halfmeister in 11th. That was round 8 of the Stcc, the Super Touring Car Championship. I also have the replay of round 9, which I hope to produce for your delectation for you to watch before Tuesday, where we will have the grand finale, and that's going to be a big one. So stay tuned, hit like, subscribe, press the bell to be reminded when we're doing this, and then you won't miss it. And Bunny's coming back soon. A great announcement. Can't wait. We'll have the whole gang back together soon. Racer Brown says he's coming back as well in the new year. It's going to be like someone give IR Graham a call. Say we're getting the gang back together. So that was us. Hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy it. There's always great racing going on here. Keep the peepers open for round 9. It has happened, and I have the replay. So it'll be coming at you like Cleopatra. I might even know what track it is. Let me bang my head against something to see. Because I was in the lobby. It's a funny story. I was in the lobby, ready to stream, and then I got confused why it was round 9 and not round 8. And on YouTube, there was only round 7, and realised I missed a round and hadn't done the replay because I totally forgot about it. So this is all my fault. I apologise. I was your broadcaster, your commentator, Toby Larone. Thank you for joining us here at the Virtual Racers Club. There's nothing to tell you. It's really quiet leading up to Christmas. I think after the new year, there'll be an explosion of racing for you. But yeah, I think the VRC are going into just a sort of little chill mode up to Christmas. There's nothing planned whatsoever except for this Stcc, and they've already done round 9, so there's only one more round left. So I'll be saying my Merry Christmases, I suppose, in round 10 of the Stcc. Okay then, lovely to see you all. Peace and love. Peace and love.